welcome to another edition of the Loose Cannons podcast. I'm your host, Hammer, hanging out with Christian Poppy Latte Stank and a special guest. He's not really a special guest anymore, just Trevor Sikkema of DraftNetwork.com.
No, it's fine.
Welcome to the show, Trevor. Did you watch that game last night?
No.
Was there a game on?
It was a game? Which one?
He's a Panthers fan, bro. We don't watch fucking Bucs games anymore.
Bachelorette was on?
Trevor's a Panthers fan and Gerald McCoy is a Bucs fan. What's going on right now?
What the fuck is going
Nobody tweets about the Bucs more than Gerald McCoy.
2020, bro.
Gerald knows that he's going to be in the Ring of Honor, so he just doesn't want it to be off.
Stop it.
Ooh,
Whoa. Hold on. We can have this discussion right now.
God.
You can have it by yourself because he's not going to the Ring of Honor.
Is this a Gerald McCoy is not making the Ring of Honor podcast?
Absolutely.
I love Gerald McCoy and Batman and comics and all that stuff.
I think he's Ring of Honor material.
He's gonna make the Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Here's the question here.
Nope.
I know he took you to the movies, bro. We know that.
You
know that.
Yeah. So did Adrian Claiborne. He ain't making it in the Ring of Honor.
I put him in first.
Do you think he's making it into the Ring of Honor, and then do you want him to make it into the Ring of Honor?
Does not belong.
I think he's going to.
You guys are out of your mind.
I think he's going to make the Ring of Honor. I just said I think he's going to make it.
The bar isn't very high here in
Yeah,
Florida.
Listen, hold on. Let me tell you, it's called the Ring of Honor, not the Ring of Nice Guys who kind of almost finished first. Let's get out of here. It's the Ring of Honor. There's nothing honorable about what that
about
man
never
did
making the
during his time
playoffs.
here. Thank you.
Listen.
Never.
Okay, so we're doing defense. We're doing 3 tech defensive tackle wins now. We're counting 3 tech D tackle wins as an official stat on the Loose Cannons podcast.
What happened when the new 93 stepped in? The whole attitude on the defense changed.
That's true.
The entire attitude. All of it.
Thank you.
Good point. So what you're saying, Sue goes in the Ring of Honor in Tampa
Yeah,
before Gerald.
Listen, man.
I want Sue in the Ring of Honor while he's still a Buck. While he's playing. Next year, he's the Ring of Honor guy.
Hey,
up,
you want to get some Kona Ice?
The Buccaneers made Gerald McCoy be the face of the franchise when they had head coaches like Raheem Morris, Greg Schiano, Dirk Cutter.
Don't slander Raheem. He had a 10-6 year, and then the prize possession of the game the next year was a freaking punter.
Raheem Morris had
what's he doing in Atlanta? He would have been 3-0 if not for stupid freaking. Oh my God! Atlanta finds ways to lose.
Raheem Morris had a 10-6 year, and then went to Mark Dominic and the owners and said, "I beg of you, please, for the love of God, please let me spend money on free agents, or we're gonna tank." And they went, "Nah, you're good. You can do it again." And we know what happened. They tanked.
Yeah.
You're acting as if Gerald didn't love the limelight that came with that franchise face. He fucking ate that shit up. And if you're going to eat it up.
So do you, Sammer?
Yeah, I do.
So
you know what?
I apologize to all the Bucs fans listening right now. I apologize. It's my fault. I brought his name up.
Started with Gerald.
I brought his name up. I take full
responsibility
for what happened here. It's my fault.
Hit record again. Start it over, bro. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, we're not doing that.
Pass interference or no pass interference? Was it pass interference?
Yeah, was it pass interference or not?
No, absolutely not.
It wasn't pass interference. That was definitely pass interference.
No. Here's why it was not pass interference, okay? I'm so done with pass interference being awarded to bad passes. You know what that pass to him was? A bad late pass. There was no way that was Dion Lewis, right? Going to Dion Lewis.
Yep.
There is no way Dion Lewis was catching that football. Whether Antoine Winfield Jr. was there or not, he was not catching the football because Daniel Jones was late to it and he threw it to him late. Winfield Jr. got there about at the exact time that it was coming in. Maybe he made contact a little bit before, but the fact of the matter was Dion wasn't catching that ball because it was a bad pass. I'm all for picking up defensive pass interference flags that reward terrible passes. They actually talked about that earlier in the game, and that's why I didn't know if they were going to pick up the flag, but I'm glad that they did because, sure, he didn't turn his head around. Sure, he might have got there a fraction of a second early, but that was a bad pass. End of the day, don't reward it.
Agreed.
If that was Ronald Jones and Tom Brady threw that ball, first of all, Ronald probably wouldn't have caught it. But second of all,
Tom wouldn't have thrown that ball.
We would be melting down to historic levels right now in Tampa if we lost the game on that play. I'm just saying
they wouldn't have. because if Brady throws that ball, they're calling the flag.
That's my point.
They're absolutely calling the
I
flag.
saw that on Twitter last night. Like, Tampa Bay's getting all the New England calls now.
Yeah, a
Trevor,
little bit.
Is
Yes.
there a reason, or excuse me, have we seen why?
Mhm.
For the last couple of weeks, I myself included, have asked the question, why is Dean not starting over SMB? Did we see why last night? Because Jesus, he gets Izzy in the backfield, bro. What's the deal?
And so, like, I think we got a little bit of a glimpse into what happens on the day-to-day with Dean at practice that we obviously don't see in the games. Obviously, like, he's had really great moments. And, Bucs fans who followed the draft class when Dean was brought in, they remember that this guy didn't fall in the draft because he's not an athlete enough. This guy didn't fall in the draft because he doesn't have the physical attributes either. Like, he is a tall, lanky corner who is extremely explosive and extremely fast. The thing with him is he was injured. That's why he fell. And so he's had a lot of this time that he has not been on the football field because of injuries. And so when Dean's been in the game, they haven't exactly been throwing out all the stops to go beat him. They've been playing one-on-one, and he's been able to have great recovery speed, stay hip to hip with wide receivers in man coverage, and in a couple of instances, really capitalize on stuff and go get takeaways. The Giants, John Ledger did a nice job of pointing this out last night. The Giants figured out that when you double move Jamel Dean, he will fall for the first move. Like, he wants that pick. He wants those turnovers. And I think that the Bucs are lucky it did not burn them more than it ended up doing throughout the game. But you're hoping that this is hey, let's turn on the tape on Wednesday. And the very first thing that Todd Bowles, or whoever it is in the room, commanded the projector goes, Dean, what are we doing here? Okay, you're jumping on this one. Okay, I got another play about it. What are we doing here? Okay, I got another play on it. What are we doing here? And so, like, that's hopefully a way that he can adjust to some of his aggressiveness, because you want guys to be aggressive, but you can't be falling for double moves as much as he was against the Giants.
I was going to ask you, Trevor, what are we to make of this team? We see them basically dominate the Green Bay Packers. We see them basically dominate, and 25-point win is dominating the Raiders, right? And then they go into New York last night and almost laid an egg on a weekend where a lot of other teams also laid eggs. So what are we to make of this team? Is it the team from the Green Bay Packers and the Raiders, or is it the team from last night, or is it a combination of both, or was it just a few weird plays in a weird night?
I think that there is a lot of truth to, and I think this phrase gets used as an excuse, so we often don't want to hear it, or we just don't give validity to it, but it really is like a week-to-week league. And some weeks you're going to come out, you're just going to be on fire, and you're going to have the game plan clicking, and everything's going to work right for you. And other games, it might look ugly. Somebody was saying when I was doing my halftime AMA, they're like, if Tampa comes out against the Saints like this, they're going to get their ass beat or something. I'm like, y'all got to breathe, man. Like, it's just like, it's going to happen. Games like Chicago are going to happen. Do they make them any less frustrating? No, because of course you would like to see your team handle business when they can. That was probably the biggest narrative going into the week. That was what I was focusing on, is that, look, this Giants team is inferior to Tampa in every single way. Basically every single position on the roster, and basically every single coach is not as qualified and not as currently successful as what the Buccaneers have on their sideline to what the Giants did. When you look at that, you go, should be an easy win. We're kind of figuring out that there's just not easy wins in the NFL, and sometimes it's going to be more difficult than you want it to be. I'm totally with Bruce. The team came out absolutely flat. Like, they had no energy. I don't know if it was the extra day, if it was the fact that it was a night game, if the fact that there was just nobody in the stands for what they normally feel is a primetime performance. I don't know what it was, but they clearly just did not have the energy. It just wasn't there for them. And they had to claw out a win last night, but I think the important part is that at the end of the day, as much as people won't like to hear this, a win is a win. And for you to come out as flat as they did and still win the football game is important, because how many times have we seen slow starts be the Achilles heel of a Bucs team, right? And like, there was so many times when Jameis was playing when they might have a slow start or they might have an early turnover or whatever, and the whole rest of the game was just clawing back to get even or get ahead. And I felt like a lot of times when that happened, they might be able to get close, but they weren't really able to cap off those kinds of games with wins. Now they were able to last night. And so it was ugly. I don't think there's any doubt about it, but I also think that everybody does need to breathe a little bit and remember that it's just not going to look as pretty as you want it to every single week. And the important part of the season is right now, just stacking the wins together. They already know how good they can be. Like, the Raiders game already happened. The Packers game already happened. I think you're going to see a couple more of those games throughout the season. And so you know the ceiling of what this team is going to be. Outside of those games where they're really going to dominate, it's really just about getting as many wins as you can, potentially getting first-round bye. So I think that really that's the main takeaway more than anything else.
Trevor, is this team good enough to face, teams like Pittsburgh and Baltimore in the trenches? Because, the Giants, although their pass rush was non-existent, I thought they manhandled us up front, especially in the run game, which, we can jump to the Byron Leftwich topic at some point here and talk about what the hell he's doing, running into a brick wall over and over and over and over again and expecting, something different. I don't get it, but I thought that we lost the battle in the trenches a little bit on offense. I thought they protected Tom pretty well, and then defensively, it took a while for us to get any real pass rush going on the defensive side of the ball. So, that worries me because New Orleans always beats us in the trenches. That's why they beat us. They beat us up front on both sides of the ball every single time. We're going to see it again this week. And if we don't come out and match their physicality, right, and punch them back in the mouth, we'll lose this game again. So that's my big concern coming out of this game. That's where I thought that's where we struggled the most.
Yeah. I think it is part of that mentality thing that we've talked a lot about over the last couple of months with Tom Brady coming in and changing the culture and Bruce Arians coming in like he did last year and kind of Todd Bowles in the same way that we've seen in some of their best games already this season. It is a mentality thing. And there have been a lot of games where I think the offensive line has just whooped up on the other team up front. So I know that's there within them, but it might have really just been an energy thing last night, because you're right. There's no reason that they should have struggled as much as they did against the Giants. Giants got some good players. I don't want to take that away from them, but it just seemed like they were up for the challenge of a primetime game, and the Bucs really weren't. They were handling it in a different manner, and that's a mentality thing that you've got to kind of get checked. I know that with them being 6-2 and with the playoffs kind of firmly in sight, it is natural to take a peek at the other top teams that they might see in the postseason. Seattle, the Packers, New Orleans. If you go over to the AFC, obviously you mentioned Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. When it comes to matchups in the trenches, it's hard for me to think that anybody can really stand up to Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's just on another level right now. But I do want to remind everybody that where we can sit here and project how the current Buccaneers team, as we're seeing them, matches up against current teams throughout the rest of the league, playoffs are still 2 months away. Like, a lot of stuff can happen between now and then, as we've seen from a lot of different teams.
What was that word you used again? Playoffs?
Yeah, it's what happens after the regular season when you don't suck.
I mean, it's
what?
not just.
Samer said you were on here to talk about the Bucs draft next season.
Draft season starts.
Yeah, normally that's why we'd have you on right now.
No, see, yeah, but there's something else that I wanted to bring to the table, because I know that this hasn't happened in Tampa a lot, but when you do well enough during the regular season, you are then cordially invited to then participate in an additional season that's only to a few select teams.
Pardon me? You said
right. See, right. It's tough to follow here, but there's almost like a second season that happens after the regular season.
They play 2 seasons?
Sort of. Yeah, but it's
because
not
of COVID?
It's not. No, it's
it
not
must be because of COVID.
Is it like 2? Is it like 2-round elimination, or how's it? What?
No, it's
best of 7.
It's almost like it's like a tournament.
Is it best of 7?
No, it's not best. It's best of 7 teams now because there's 7 teams on each side of the conference. But
also 14 teams.
Yes, but then if you lose, the catch is, if you lose, you're out. Your season, like your second season,
win
is
or
over.
go home.
Right.
Bizarre.
Right.
This is some bizarre. I think I have COVID right now listening to this. I don't understand anything you just said.
We have groundbreaking news on the show right now.
Let's talk about Byron Leftwich, Trevor.
Boom. Let's do it.
Let's talk about Byron Leftwich.
Sure.
What I want to talk about is, because Stank said, being able to match up with these teams in the trenches. And over the last 3-4 weeks, maybe even more, I mean, Brady's been clean. The offensive line is dominated. Rojo had 3 straight 100-yard games. But isn't part of coaching scheming? Isn't it chess, not checkers, Trevor? Why the fuck would we run right into the center of the strength of the Giants defense? If that is their strength, why then do we do that?
Continuously.
Fuck!
I
Maybe it's not the O-line. We just keep running our head into a wall, like Stank said.
There is something to be said about having a game plan and wanting to do what you do best, like not abandoning what your plan for the week is. But even with me thinking about that and going, okay, I could see that, it did feel like last night Byron, especially as they were down on the scoreboard, did not want to pivot away from the true 50-50 pass on first down, run on first down balance that they've clearly set throughout the season. Because as much as it seems like, and every game that I feel like I want to complain about how many times Byron runs the ball on first down, I feel like how many times they pass on first down? Like 3 times all game, and it ends up being like
50-50.
Well, actually, they passed a little bit more than they did on first down.
It was actually 18 to 13 times. Just in case you're wondering. Thank you, John Ledyard.
It was it 18 passing plays to 13 run plays?
Passing plays,
right,
down to 13 runs.
So, like, I think a lot of those runs come on the very first down of drives. So then it like pisses people off, and then like that's what they remember throughout the drive. So I do think that it's a little bit overblown, but like take the interception that they got from Carlton Davis, right? They get an interception. They're down on the scoreboard. I'm pretty sure that was either in the fourth quarter or late in the third quarter. The Bucs then came out and ran the ball twice on first down and second down. Like, you've got to, I think, be able to adjust better than that. And I cannot remember if the Bucs ended up getting points on that drive, but to me, in that instance, did they get 3? Did they get 3 out of that one? To me, though, that is an instance of process over results. I don't want to hear that, well, we got points out of the drive. Okay, well, you wanted 7. Or even if you got 7, you wanted to still make the right decisions to get to 7 that way. And with Daniel Jones throwing an interception after a weird back and forth game where it felt like everybody's feet were just stuck in the mud the whole game, you getting a pick is the most exciting thing that has happened basically all game. I think that you owe it then to the defense who just got you the turnover to at least try for something that's going to make sure that you get 7 points out of it. And I just felt like it was a little conservative there, but that kind of went along with the game script, I guess, because you go back to the 4th and 1 call where Bruce had an opportunity to gain 1 yard and the game would have been over, and they end up kicking the field goal. Look, I guess the field goal was important because they ended up giving a touchdown on the next drive. But if you gain that 1 yard, the game is over. And it's like I am always of the mindset.
Don't forget 3rd and 1. They had the same option to run the Brady sneak, which is right. I know maybe it was 1.5 yards, but still, I'd still prefer that based on the history of the game where gaining we lost yards so many times. Gaining 1 yard on a short yardage run like that wasn't really in our favor at that point.
I am always of the opinion that if you cannot gain a yard, you suck. Like you deserve to lose. We're talking about 1 yard. Mm-hmm. And if you have 2 chances to gain a yard, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, you super suck. Like it is 1 yard here. So all of that, anyways, we kind of went on a tangent. I wanted to go back to the run thing. I think the reason why Byron continues to try to make it as even of a 50-50 split as he can is because they want to protect the play action. I think that they want to protect how effective play action is, but it's kind of been proven that you don't have to run the ball as much as you think you do to have the threat of play action always exist. When you run play action, the defense still has to account for that threat, whether you have rushed the ball 30 times in the game or 8. It's always going to be there. Now, the discrepancy is a little exaggerated right there, but I do think that for as much as it might be a little bit overblown because you looked at 18-13, the pass to run ratio, Byron does seem to be a little bit too committed to the game script game plan of making it as balanced as possible. And I think the best teams in the NFL are the ones that move away from being totally balanced and are more willing to pass the ball on first down, especially to start a game or start a drive, than the Bucs were. I would be happier, and I think the Bucs would be in a better place, especially for how many weapons they have in the passing game, if that run to pass ratio on first down was more like 8-20 or 21. That to me would give the Bucs, and where they have strengths on their team, more of an advantage and a better chance to gain more yards and put themselves in better situations and keep drives moving more further down the field. So that is my Byron Leftwich take. It's a little bit overblown because of the numbers you see, but he could stand to adjust a little bit more than being that 50-50 balance.
Though I've noticed that in the second half of games, we seem to kind of get the ball moving a little bit more, I don't know how to say, smoothly than we were in the first half. And if you get a first down and then the next play you're throwing it on first down, and then we get another first down, we throw it again on first down, some of that seems to balance it out. But when it's like kind of like slug it out, it feels so much like we're seeing that run the ball on first down, on first down. And although I have somewhat of an issue with that as it relates to Byron, and I've had this discussion with you before, my biggest thing with him is that he's a young offensive coordinator, and the best guys in the league, the Sean McVays, the John Grudens, the Sean Paytons, as much as we hate them, their plays work off of each other. Their plays build off of each other. This play is setting up this play 6-7 plays down the road, right? Mm-hmm. And with Byron, too often it feels like he's just flipping pages and like, let's try this. All right, let's try that. Like, none of the plays work together. They don't flow. And the ebbs and flows of understanding a game as a coordinator on both sides of the ball is important because, like you said, we're going to go in. The game plan is to run. They've stopped our run. Time to pivot and pass the ball. Make them now move back and go back on their heels as a defense. And with Byron, and I know it might just be because he's so young, but he's not doing those things that help your offense. I feel like when we go into a hurry-up offense or a tempo where Tom Brady's doing it, you feel that. You feel this play builds off of that play. He's calling 2 plays in the huddle. It makes sense. It feels like there's a flow. And sometimes an inferior opponent makes it feel like there's a flow. But if you really look back at it, we don't have this like flow that I wish we could see from. You see it with the Saints. Every play builds off the other play. John Gruden is a master at it. He's just masterful. He uses motion. He makes matchups work in his favor, and every play builds off the other one. But with Byron, like, why do you see him not building or getting this flow of an offense? It feels like he's just flipping pages, man, and it's so frustrating to watch.
Christian, do you want to say something before I went?
I mean, everybody you mentioned, John Gruden didn't look that great last year with Carr. As a matter of fact, there were rumors that he was going to replace him, and he wasn't happy with him. It's time. It's just time, bro.
There's still a flow there.
It's 8 games.
No, I get it. I get it.
I said like we're complaining, and it feels really weird because we're 6-2. No, but I mean, we just scored 45 fucking points the week before, 35 the week before that.
But too
Everybody
often,
take a chill pill.
Yeah, but too often he loses the flow of the game.
Every season, every Super Bowl champ, you go back to last year with the Chiefs. Everybody has a fucking dud. Everybody loses a game they're not supposed to lose. Take a fucking chill pill. I don't like the first down runs, but relax with the flow stuff, bro. It's overblown. It's overblown.
It's not.
I don't know if, and I think that there's obviously something to what Christian's saying. Like some games are going to look like masterpieces, and other games, it just might not be working. And so it's kind of like offensive line play where you don't want to get too nitpicky on a guy who you know might be strong for your team. Like Byron could be doing the right things for the majority of a lot of different games, especially this season. I mean, they're 6-2, so they're putting plenty of offense together. I know Brady has something to say about that, but you don't want to get too nitpicky with it. To your question, Sammer, I'm obviously not sure. I'm not in the building. I'm not in the coaches' meetings. I can't tell you exactly what's going on in the sideline between like how he's choosing play to play. Perhaps there is an element of, I definitely don't want to say it feels like he's just flipping through the page book and calling a random play, but maybe there is something to, and I don't have anything to this, maybe there's something to him saying, hey, I'm going to call this play on first down because it is going to build off of a different play that we're going to do later in the game. But you want to be careful because you also don't want to waste downs. You know, like you don't want to go, hey, we're going to run this play out of this look because it's going to set something up later in the game. I mean, that's a nice thought. But if that first play that you're running, isn't going to do anything for you, and you're going to set yourself up in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, and it's not really going to do anything for your offense that drive, that gets a little dangerous. You just don't want to get to the point where you are wasting downs because drives are obviously too valuable, especially in a game like we saw last night. The Bucs shouldn't have needed every single drive that they had to beat the Giants, but that's what it ended up coming down to. So that's, of course, when you want to make sure that even if you might have a grander plan or a chess plan in place, you don't want to sit here and waste early downs and think, okay, we're running this play to set something up later, and it's just not going to work in the moment, because that would be a detriment to your team, even if the shot that you take later in the game is going to work.
You know, execution is everything, right? I mean,
Sure.
Tom Moore is in the room with Leftwich. Bruce Arians is in the room with Leftwich. Tom fucking Brady is in the room with Leftwich. All these people are infinitely smarter than anybody even listening to this podcast, even God. Okay, so let's calm down a little bit with scheming. I think that they probably have a good schemes in place, and I don't know. Even at the beginning of the game, we seem to have a flow issue, but it could just come down to poor execution. Yeah. It's hard because we've seen this not just with this staff, but with previous staffs as well, where it always looks like even the things we do accomplish come tough. Nothing comes easy. It's not the Shanahan game plan where you're like, they use a lot of flow and trickeration. They kind of do what they do. It's definitely more of the old school style of football, and they live off of that play action. I guess that's why they do what they do in the run game, but it can be frustrating at times. A
little bit to Stank's point, though, look at some of the coaches that you named. You guys named McVay and John Gruden and Kyle Shanahan as players or coaches who you just had go to hell yeah, these are the best offensive minds. Look at their records on the team, and I this is just sometimes what happens. To Stank's point, it often is a big execution thing, and I think that's why we started off this podcast saying, look, it all begins with the energy of what this team had out the gate and how long it took for them to smack some cold water on their face or whatever it was to really wake up and realize, oh, we are better than the Giants. And so I do think that sure, we can talk a little bit about Byron's decisions and some scheme things and all this and that, but it definitely is an execution thing. And I think a testament to that is naming off some of the best offensive coaches in the NFL and seeing that stuff's just not working. Sometimes the players just aren't able to execute what they need to execute. Look at the Rams last week. Rams got boat raced by the Miami Dolphins just because the Dolphins defense was stopping and turning and forcing turnovers so bad on what the Rams were trying to do. And that's McVay, and that's a guy who you'd go, hell yeah, I'd take that guy as my offensive mind any day of the week. You looked at Shanahan, even when he got Garoppolo back against, who were they playing? Oh, shoot, it was the Dolphins. It was the Dolphins again, where it's just you get this team, and it's okay, I've got my guys back. I've got Debo back. I've got Kittle back. I've got Brandon Ayuk. Garoppolo's back in the game. It was a dud, and it's just kind of what it was. So I think that it's certainly fun to have conversations, and there's a little bit of validity to it, I think, with scheme and what the coaches are doing. But, I mean, Stank's correct in that it all just comes down to how the players are playing.
Correction. We started the podcast by saying Gerald McCoy should be in the Ring of Honor, by the way, Trevor, just letting you know.
You said should. I just want to make sure that you said should.
That was this podcast?
You
Jesus,
said
that was this podcast.
Ever ago.
Podcast. By the way,
God.
Did anybody here, because Stank brought it up, Trevor brought it up, not Sammer. Don't give Sammer any credit. Did anybody see Tom Brady's face when we were going to go for it on fourth down and then Bruce changed his mind and Bruce looked a little sick to his stomach like, Tom, I got to kick the field goal here. You know, he looked like he wasn't happy either, but Tom he kept looking at Byron like, what the fuck? What is going on here?
He looked like he missed a little bit of the tenacious edge that came with Bill Belichick being his head coach, right?
A little bit.
I don't know about that, but I mean, like, look, I certainly
no risk, no biscuit, Trevor. What happened?
I certainly talked about it a couple of weeks ago on Twitter when they were playing. I'm sure that you guys have talked about it as well. For so long, it just seemed like the QB sneak element of offense just did not exist on this football team. And I remember when I was a beat reporter with Pewter Report asking Dirk Cutter about this specifically. And he was just like, yeah, well, I mean, it's just not one of our stronger plays. I mean, if we think that Jameis can pick it up and do it, then we're good. I'm like, what am I missing here? It's a yard. Like, I just don't. And for whatever reason, they did not trust Jameis to do it. And for years, we have watched the Patriots basically turn 1st and 10 situations anywhere in a drive into 1st and 9, because all they have to do is get 9 yards to set themselves up into a either 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, or hell, even 4th and 1. And they know that they're going to pick up the yard because they've got the best QB sneak quarterback of all time. So it's almost like you're making it less of a down and distance for you to get the first down because it's such a guarantee. I mean, I don't know why they're not calling that more often.
Shouldn't that just be a hot read for Tom Brady every play when he's under center, 3rd and 1? Like, he has the ability to call audible into that play at any moment.
That
he did it in New Orleans.
I mean, that sounds legit. I don't know what their calls are. But
he did it in New Orleans. That wasn't a called quarterback sneak. He audibled into that. And he actually, the offensive line didn't know he was going to do it.
Yeah, a lot of those analytics teams though will go for that. You know, I'd rather end the game than put points on the board. But Bruce has been Bruce since he's been here, right? It's get the guaranteed points, go up by 8, trust your defense to win the game. It's not really the wrong call, I don't think, but I get that. I mean, I did see Tom Brady show some sort of like, just let me go get it, bro. We got this.
I really didn't hate the decision to kick the field goal as much as Twitter seemed to, because it's not like you're kicking the field goal and going up 7.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're kicking the field goal and going up 8. So not only is there no way that you can lose this game in regulation, but you're also forcing them to march all the way down the field, score in the end zone, and then score again in a 2-point conversion. And guess what? They couldn't do it twice in a row. So the Bucs ended up coming out on top. And so I really didn't hate the decision as much as Twitter seemed to. However,
the 3rd and 1 is what I hated.
In situations where they are in that kind of a something and short situation with the game on the line, I would like to see quarterback sneaks incorporated a little bit more, because it just seems like I've never played quarterback. I don't exactly know how difficult it would be to do that, but for some reason, I for years I've watched the Patriots do this with Brady, and I'm like, how are teams not doing this more? I don't get it. Because when you think of successful QB sneak quarterbacks, the 2 dudes that come to mind, at least for me, are Tom Brady, Cam Newton.
Yep.
Could not be more polarizingly opposite players athlete-wise. And yet they still both make it work. Cam obviously makes it work because he's a freak. He's a defensive end playing quarterback, and he's got that much length. I guess Drew Brees as well. Drew Brees is another guy that I would throw in there too. But it's like, Brees and Brady ain't out-athleting you. They're just picking up the yard. So, I don't know.
Trevor.
Yes.
Again, to everybody out there, I'm not complaining. We're 6-2, baby. It's all good stuff. But
I think 7 minutes ago you told everybody calm down.
I gotta ask. But because I'm gonna bring up something negative again. But I have to ask. Just Jaden Mickens is the replacement for Godwin, bro. Like, somebody said that on this coaching staff, that Jaden Mickens took Godwin's role this week.
I don't think that's what it was.
Everybody we have on this offense, and Jaden Mickens took Godwin's role this week.
I kind of like Jaden Mickens. I don't
but
get
man,
the hate.
Tom Brady throws to the open guy, and that's just the flow of the game. I mean, he's open. He was open every time he's thrown him the ball, even the time
So
he
was
missed
Mike.
it. I get it. Mike
A lot in the first quarter. A lot. I think
but him getting more targets than Mike or getting more targets than anybody else it's not he's a replacement of Godwin. That's just the flow of the game. That one play, he broke out of the pocket. Tom Brady broke out of the pocket. There was nowhere to go but to Mickens, right?
I'm talking about the fourth quarter. I'm talking about the entire game, bro.
I know, but he's open.
Did you guys see Mickens tweet at me after the game?
No.
Okay, so I tweeted right before the first half was over. I tweeted Jaden Mickens with a team leading 6 targets in the first half, and I tweeted a meme that's a 2-part meme. It's guy holding up his hands. He just goes, I think it's Daniel Craig. He's just holding up his hands and he's like, makes no damn sense. And then the second part is him. The second part is him going, it compels me though. You know, like it was just like it was funny. You know, like it was just a funny meme. And Mickens, out of all of the tweets that were basically verbatim of what Christian just said, he comes after mine. I gotta find it. And he says, number 2 leading receiver at Washington football, number 5 all time in yards. Make it make sense, expert. And I'm like, And so I obviously woke up this morning to a bunch of Washington fans who were like, he put him in a body bag. And I'm like, dude, I wasn't even really roasting you.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't even roasting him. I was just like, this is a weird game plan. But
you woke up to that. Stank woke up to sheep head, bottle.
Yeah, somebody hates my face.
Yeah,
that's okay.
But you bring up Chris Godwin. I was going to ask you, Trevor, about Chris Godwin. When it comes to the X's and O's, can you speak to how this offense is so much different when he's not in the lineup versus when he is?
I mean, yeah, he's basically the 6th best blocker on the team. You know, like I'm counting all 5 starting offensive linemen, and then it's Chris Godwin. I can't tell you how many times I watched last season where they motioned Chris Godwin inside, basically at a wing formation where he's a step behind the offensive line, and they're like running behind Chris Godwin as a lead blocker against linebackers, or against sometimes defensive ends when he's getting help from a tight end or an offensive tackle or something. And so that is the thing when people talk about Chris Godwin being a potential top 10, at points last year, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. That's the part that does it for me. Yeah, he gets the yards. Yeah, he gets the tough catches. He'll get yards after the catch. He's got the speed to break one loose and get some yards after the catch, all that kinds of stuff. It's the blocking. This dude makes your offense so versatile because Chris can start out in one spot on the outside, motion inside to the other side of the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden you're like, how do we adjust for this? Do we bring a safety down? Does the linebacker have to rotate down? What are we doing here? Because Chris Godwin's about to block somebody out of the lane. And that, just to your point, it's so much more than yards with Chris Godwin, and his value to this offense is almost greater than I would say. Well, shoot, for how they're treating Mike Evans this year, I would say that Chris's impact gives them the highest ceiling on offense because of what he can do when he's not even touching the ball. And so that is what they missed the most with Chris. And I think that's what they've missed a lot with him this year. Even when he's been on the field, he hasn't seemed exactly the way that he was last year when he was fully healthy before he went out at the end of the season. And so it is all about getting the weapons that they have on paper healthy before they get to that second season that they could be invited to that I was talking about earlier on the podcast. But like, that's really what it is. I mean, Godwin's just such a force in the blocking game. He gives you such an advantage there.
Trevor, Antonio Brown is going to add something to this team that obviously we don't have the ability to have, a true speed threat outside, right. A guy who can play all the positions. But one of the things that makes me most excited, and Bruce talked about this last week, is it allows them to play Mike Evans more on the inside, a la the Larry Fitzgerald role that when Bruce kind of switched him inside at Arizona, and you saw kind of a reemergence of Larry in that offense. Do you think that that's going to be the case here when we see him playing out of the slot more, that he's utilized more in the underneath reads? Because obviously that's where Brady really likes to go with the ball. I think that's why Godwin it is utilized quite often. I think he did that a lot in New England. We're going to get healthy real quick here this week if Godwin can go with that broken finger. Are we about to see a level up, a whole different offense, with just because we added a piece like Antonio?
Yeah, before I start, don't think I didn't hear that Scotty Miller slander at the beginning of the question saying that we didn't
That's
have
why I
speed
cleared
on
my
the
throat.
outside. I'm just
That's
kidding.
No slander here.
There's
no slander here.
The only speed threat we need is Scotty Miller, bro.
No, I'm just messing with you. But I mean, like, to your point, yeah, they now have 3 all-pro receivers, and I don't mean Pro Bowl, like a popularity contest. Like, I mean that these are all-pro individuals. They have 3 all-pro wide receivers.
They have 4.
Who's the 4th one?
Scotty Miller.
Mike Evans.
Scotty Miller.
Mike.
Antonio Brown. Scotty.
Oh, it's Mike Evans.
Godwin. Mike Evans.
Right, yeah. So they have 3 all-pro wide receivers that they can now interchange basically throughout the offense at any point. And we've talked about this probably for the last couple of years as offenses have been evolving to, like you were saying there, Stank, like when Kyle Shanahan started putting Julio Jones on the inside as a slot player, and then all of a sudden he had 1,800 yards and nobody could stop him. And the NFL went, wait a second. Is this legal? Like, are they allowed to do this? Can they manufacture Julio Jones on our nickel defender? Is this allowed? And so we've been progressing from that moment on to where the slot wide receiver is no longer basically as close to Wes Welker as you could possibly get. Now the slot receiver is just anybody who can win with any kind of leverage, and they have 3 players that can now do that. And I mean, look, I've been on record saying that there is nothing that Antonio Brown has done, or there is nothing that has happened since he was released from the Raiders that says that he deserves this chance or that he should be trusted. But from a purely football standpoint, this is unfair. I mean, Antonio's he's always a guy who's going to be extremely in shape. He's always going to. I don't think Bruce is lying when he says that they were amazed by how in shape that he was, because I think that that's what he's been doing over the last couple of months. I think a lot of the stuff and the reasons that they've given for him coming in have been fabricated or fluff or really just beating around the bush on what really matters with bringing him in. And I think that that's kind of been disappointing to see. But again, from a purely football standpoint, because now he is on this team, I do not know how you cover the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do not know how you stop this, because I talked about it when I mentioned manufacturing, getting Julio Jones on your nickel corner. Your 3rd best corner on your team is now going to guard either Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Antonio Brown. There is we have seen a renaissance of the nickel position where now a lot of guys are having sometimes their best corners play in the slot because they can deal with space better. For example, Washington, like they do with Kendall Fuller. They'll take Kendall Fuller and he'll be the outside cornerback as the CB one-on-one play, and then when they go to nickel and sub package, he'll sometimes play on the inside when other teams do, like putting Mike in the slot or Julio Jones in the slot or whatever. But at some point down the line, even if you have a flexible CB1 who can play inside and out, your CB3, whoever it is going to get one of those players. I have no idea how you guard this team. None. And with Tom Brady distributing them the ball, this has pretty much, in my mind, become an unstoppable offense, especially with how the offensive line is playing right now.
14-2.
I think we're a run game away from that, because we haven't had a performance where you're like, damn, they are just dominating on the ground. I think that's one of my concerns. I think we're a very good pass blocking offensive line. I think Donovan Smith's had a really good couple of games here. I know he gave up a bad play last night, but that's going to happen. And I think most of the sacks that came against Brady last night were coverage sacks anyway. So,
yeah.
But let's talk about Rojo and Fournette and what we've seen out of that. I just don't know that the right guy is there. Neither of them are particularly quick in the passing game. I think obviously Fournette's a good receiver, but he's just not. He doesn't have that quickness when he gets the ball in his hands. Rojo goes to his knees like he's playing catcher every time they throw him the ball. He's an awful pass catcher. I said it in the preseason And we had his coach on here, and I was critical of his pass catching abilities. Do we have that guy here that fits this offense?
I'm not convinced. Even if they do have the right person, I'm not really convinced. Look, the Bucs are running this running back room like a baseball manager runs a pitching staff. That's just what they're doing. Ronald Jones, for as much as he has had some games where he's received little carries or games where he's received over 20 carries, he's been the starter. He started all 8 games. So even in instances where he might be like, quote unquote, in the doghouse or something like that, he's their starter. They're going to start Ronald Jones. He's going to begin the game. He's going to be out there in the first series. And I think he got 5 carries in the first series, or between the first 2 series last night before he had that fumble, and then they got him out of there. And the way that they're going to do this is Ronald Jones is going to be their starting pitcher. And they are going to ride Ronald Jones as their ace for as long as he will let them. Sometimes that's going to be into the fourth quarter. Sometimes it might not make it into the first half. But we've then seen Bruce Arians kind of, if Rojo puts this team in tough spots early on, he's not afraid to pull him, like completely pull him. And we've seen that. Look, the only 2 games in which Ronald Jones has received less than 10 carries, he received 7. Carolina game and last night. Both games he had fumbles that he lost. I know that the Carolina fumble technically was on Brady because it was a handoff, but Jones clearly got the blame for that. And so I get why people wouldn't have confidence moving forward into it, because there were a couple of runs once it was clear that Leonard Fournette was going to be the guy last night, where Fournette was just like dancing around in the backfield and was barely getting back to the line of scrimmage. And for as much as you might like Leonard Fournette as a fresh legs kind of fourth quarter, going to pound it on you kind of a running back, I mean, I'm not leaning on this guy to be a bell cow, 4 yards per carry kind of a player, quarters 2 and 3. So I don't know, man. I think that this is just going to be the situation where the Bucs are strong in so many areas, right? They've got a stout defensive line. They've got 2 of the best linebackers in the league. They have a young, fast secondary. They've got a strong offensive line playing really well and might have 3 all-pro players along that offensive line between Jensen, Marpet, and Wirfs. They have the best passing weapons that there are to have in this league, and they have the greatest quarterback of all time as their quarterback. They actually, you know what? I'm going to take it even further. Now they've got a kicker that they could rely on. They actually have Ryan Suckup, who has made quite a bit of kicks for them.
I don't like that guy.
He sucks. I hate his form. Looks stupid when he kicks.
I don't like him.
I hate the way he smiles after he makes a kick.
Yeah.
This
Act
might
like you've been
just,
there. Act like you've been there before, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
this might just be the area of the team that's going to stress you out. And that's just the running game, the running backs, how they handle it. I think that's just where it's going to be.
Raise my hand like in school.
Yes, go ahead, Christian.
There's another area that stresses me out about this team.
You're full of positivity today, Latte.
I'm happy. I love you, Jake.
Yeah, Jake. Yeah, don't tweet at me this time, Jake.
Listen, I'm happy. It's just, you got to call a spade a spade. We call it how it is. Listen, Trev, the trade deadline's today. Is it today? 4 o'clock?
Yeah, it's today, 4 o'clock.
Today, 4 o'clock. I saw a couple of gassed, and when it matters, outside linebackers last night. Are we going to make a move here and get another one? Because we don't have another pass rusher if it's not 90, if it's not 58. Are we going to pick up another pass rusher? Clay Matthews is out there. Are we going to do something? Because I saw a gassed. I mean, JPP was done, bro. His tongue was dragging the fucking field by the time the game was over. What are we going to do here, bro? That's stressing me. I stay up at night. Running backs, I don't give a shit. We can throw the ball over the fucking field. I don't care. Pass rusher.
Only 2 pass rushers that I can think of that would really help the Buccaneers out at this point would be Takarius McKinley from Atlanta, if you think a change of scenery would help him. But Tack tweeted himself yesterday that he's not going anywhere, that the Falcons aren't trading him. And the only other one I can think of is Ryan Kerrigan from Washington, who would be nice as a rotational guy, but I don't think Washington's trading Ryan Kerrigan either. So,
free agent Clay Matthews?
No, then I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know. I kind of just think the team is what they are right now. And you got to be happy with it. I just laid it out a couple of minutes ago. This is the best Bucs roster by far the Bucs fans have ever seen since the Gruden era of when they were winning
Christian.
And when you look at them versus when you look at them versus the rest of the league, this is a roster that you could bet on against every single team any given week. And I just think that that's probably where they are. I think that they've made their splashes. They've picked up their veterans. And not that I'd ever close the door on Bruce bringing somebody else in, like maybe Clay Matthews is an option, but that would kind of just be you're throwing a dart at the wall. Like you're just being like, hey, hopefully you're decent for us. But maybe Bruce said when he brought in AB that he felt like he owed it to his team to give them the best roster possible. So in that sense, I'm never going to count out any kind of like free agent addition or whatever, but I don't think that there is a trade out there, at least ones that have not been on my radar, that Tampa's going to be able to pull off, especially like in that area specifically, like a pass rusher.
I mean, I'll take Stephon Gilmore. I mean, if they just want to give him to us, I think that guy.
I was told the price for Stephon Gilmore is a first-round pick and a player. So
yeah, that's never going to happen.
Trevor, Christian kind of brought up he did bring up the pass rush. Last night, you saw the Giants go into this weird tempo offense. I don't watch any of their games, so I'm not sure if that's just what they do or if that was something that they were doing to force Bowles to kind of dial it back a little bit, stay in his base defense and not get as exotic. We didn't really see Devin White come in as often as we've seen in the last couple of games. Remember, they unleashed him last week. Was that the game plan? Was that how they approached the Bucs and Todd Bowles was, let's hurry this offense up a little bit so that they have no chance to substitute? Or was that just how, was just Todd Bowles just not dialing up? Or was it, again, one of those things where it was just an energy across the defensive line or the front seven?
I can't say I've noticed that, that I noticed that in particular. And again, like I'm like you, I can't say that I've watched enough Giants football to know if that's super irregular from what they normally do. But look, anytime everybody's basically trying to figure out how they can possibly slow down this Todd Bowles defense. Like they're just doing whatever they can at this point. And tempo works. When you are a really good tempo team, it works. Guys might be in the wrong gap just because it's like bang, bang, plays over. Now I got to get lined up again. I think it was it Gallman's touchdown? Gallman scored on the ground, didn't he? That run play that went to the left. When they showed the sky cam of that touchdown, it was so easy because that play was on like the 2-yard line. Mm-hmm. And yet the Bucs defensive end on that play, I think it was Anthony Miller, but I can't exactly remember. He was in like not quite a wide 9 technique, but he was outside the tackle's outside shoulder. And then the interior defensive tackle closest to him was right over the shoulder of the guard. And so like that was a very clear, here is the run lane. They're on the 2-yard line. They only have 2 yards to go. They're running it on this side. And they did, and it was an easy rushing touchdown. And I believe that they ran that play. I could be totally wrong, but I believe if my memory is serving me right, they ran that play off of tempo. They ran that play off of, hey, we got down to the 2-yard line. Let's get back to the line of scrimmage. Okay, now all of a sudden, like, the defensive end might be a little bit further on the line of scrimmage than you would want him to be when they're at the 2-yard line. And so tempo always always has a chance to mess with you. We see it in college football all the time. These inferior teams can sometimes bring these top 15, top 10 teams down to the wire because if their offense is that good at running tempo, the guys get gassed. Sometimes they have mental lapses. When you do that, there's not enough room to pick him up. They can't make substitutions as easy, all that kinds of stuff. So maybe there's something to it. Look, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say like that's a Bulls defense kryptonite at this point. It's something that's worth noting to see if it continues to happen moving forward. But I really just think that last night it was a matter of, if you run tempo well, you can bother any defense.
Yeah, that tempo was interesting, but Rojo doesn't fumble. I don't know the Giants, outside of that one, they have one touchdown. So I could see Sunday night, New Orleans trying to do something similar. Speaking of Sunday night, this might be the biggest Bucs game in the last decade. You got New Orleans coming in our house. Jameis Winston in the building. You've got them probably getting healthy. I think Mike Thomas will be back. Sanders will be back.
Quan Alexander, sir, as well. Quan.
Yeah. I forgot about that guy. If he makes it here, may take the wrong plane and overrun the city. Anyways, this ought to be the biggest game.
That was awesome.
I love it. That was a tier 1 dad joke. That was a tier 1 dad joke. That was amazing.
That was
not awesome. I fucking feel terrible for saying that. Jesus, that hurt coming out of my mouth.
Embrace the dad jokes, man.
First of all, Trevor, are you flying in for this?
Wait. How many of you have a Quan Alexander jersey?
Not me.
Hands down.
None of you guys? Okay.
I have a Devin White though. What?
All right. I just wondered.
I'm not afraid. I don't know. Were you done, Stank? I'm sorry.
I'm not afraid. I'm saying how exciting.
No, it's exciting.
This game could go either way, man. Like, listen, I could easily see us getting our ass kicked. I could easily see us kicking their ass. I could easily see it being a close game. I think I made the decision because I'm going to be giving out a whole lot of New Orleans hate this week. I'm going to enjoy this game because we haven't had a game that meant so much in this town in fucking forever. And it's against our most hated rival currently, against stupid Sean Payton's face in Tampa. It's going to be exciting, man. And it's Sunday night. Can't wait.
Yeah. 2018 is, when you talk about this being an exciting game, I remember back in 2018, which was it was Dirk Cutter's last season. And if you remember how that season started, Bucs went to New Orleans and outdueled them 48-40. Extremely exciting in New Orleans to start the season. They then put a hurting on the Philadelphia Eagles at home, who were the Super Bowl champs at the time, the reigning Super Bowl champs. They're 2-0. Week 3, Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh Steelers. I remember showing up to that game. That was in Tampa. I remember showing up to that game early.
The Fitzmagic game. The shirts were out. Everybody had one. Yes. Sammer probably made an extra 10 G's in cash that week from printing Fitzmagic shirts. I remember I showed up to that game early.
My dad ended up coming up for the game as well. And I remember meeting my dad in the concourse of the game. It was at least an hour and a half before game time. So it was still kind of like an empty stadium and people were filing in and the players were warming up. And it was just a nighttime game under the lights. You knew it was Monday Night Football. And I remember saying to my dad, I was like, this is the most important Bucs game in the last 10 years. They were 2-0. They were looking at maybe being 3-0, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was the teams that they beat at the time that were important. Mm-hmm. The division New Orleans Saints, who have had their number for forever. It was a hump that they could never get over. Taking down the reigning Super Bowl champs at home. And then it was the Pittsburgh Steelers, just like a historically good football team that they could potentially beat to go to 3-0 in the season. I remember saying to him, I was like, this is the biggest game that they have had over the last 10 years. I would agree. I don't know if it's going to have that exact same aura just because
no fans
in the stands, COVID, all that kinds of stuff. But in terms of what this game could mean, beating New Orleans in Tampa, which has happened more than Bucs fans probably think over the last couple of years, going to 7-2, taking full control of the division. I mean, I tweeted this out last night. They have a 92% chance to make the playoffs right now. If they beat New Orleans this weekend, I think that goes to like 97, 98. Like they would have to basically lose out every single game to then not make the playoffs. And so, at that point, the odds of them winning the division and potentially getting a first round bye also take a massive jump because it's New Orleans that they are beating. So it's exciting, man. I'm with you. And I think that for as weird as the Giants game was, I think that it is important for Buccaneers fans to remember that football is fun when you're winning. You are allowed to have fun when your team is winning. And that this Sunday's game against New Orleans is one that you should be excited about, not overly negative about.
Trevor, no more tweets like that, please.
Which
one? Remember, we are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We reinvent new ways to fuck shit up.
Listen, man.
We were 9-3 with John Gruden his last year. 9-3. What the fuck? That's insane. That doesn't even sound right. And then we lose out. We reinvent.
You'll never find a fan base more suspicious of winning.
Right?
Like, really? We want what's? Yeah, bro. I don't believe it.
I gotta ask
you. You're forgetting the biggest component though.
Tom Brady. You're right.
Trevor,
I
no
know
longer,
that you don't live here anymore?
I no longer live
Trevor's
in
gone.
Tampa.
Yeah,
Right.
Your address is different.
Are you coming in? Are you flying in for the game?
No,
Not for this game. I was hoping that the country would be in a different state with COVID to where there would potentially be more fans in the stands, because I was hoping to come in for the Chiefs game, but I don't know if that's still happening.
Stay over there. Don't
stay.
Come. Don't even come to the
You're like
close to the
Corey
border.
now. You get the Corey treatment. Don't enter Raymond James.
No,
Period.
don't enter the
Don't
state
enter
of Florida.
Tampa. Don't enter Tampa, Florida.
Stay
Keep on
away
three.
from Florida. Don't enter Florida.
I have a
That's
two-parter
it.
for you, though, Trevor.
Last one.
Listen,
Is it going to be food related? Because we haven't talked about food at all, and Trevor's on this podcast. What the fuck?
Hold on.
Weird.
He's
we all
proven
know
his
that
palate is
your
trash.
palate is clearly inferior to ours with the ranch, phenomenon, weird shit, whatever.
Good point.
I'm not going to judge you. But
I am.
what is your drink of choice? We know you're wing. What is your drink of choice, Trevor, when you're watching football and you're indulging in that?
If I'm at my house, it's probably either water or beer. I mean, but like I'm not gonna lie to you, it's more water than beer. I'm normally not drinking if I'm just sitting around at my house. But if I'm out, if I'm out, we're throwing back some beers. That's what we're doing.
Bougie beer or like redneck beer?
He looks like he's
They
a bougie
don't
beer
they don't really have redneck beer here. Like, that's not a Charlotte. Like, Charlotte is very much a brewery city.
Wow.
So the only beer that you get around here is like the IPAs, the stouts, the lager, like stuff like that. Sometimes like
That's Thanks Lane right there.
so
that's all
yeah,
me.
that's
And I didn't even know they could read or write in North Carolina. So that's
They
kinda fucking. I didn't know they had all that technology there.
The second
They-
part of my question is not related to food. Trevor, what did you do? We're trying to figure it out. Me and Stank were talking about it today. Did you sign a deal or something? Like, I'm watching your timeline. I'm watching your girlfriend's timeline. Like, how did you get lucky like that, bro? Like, you guys have a 3 TV setup. It looks like freaking Buffalo Wild Wings.
see, that's why like I don't even have to go anywhere.
Just to have the TV all day with football.
I don't gotta go anywhere.
You have 3 TVs.
Yeah.
What's the deal, bro? I mean, you clearly you hit her in the head or something, or you signed a deal with the devil. I don't get what you're saying.
No,
I'm
Right?
gonna say Crossroads deal with the devil. Yeah,
It's,
that's what I'm gonna
it's
say.
He
sickening.
definitely signed a deal with me. I will.
Yeah, no. So yeah, Sammer came up to me. He was like, "Hey, I'm the devil." You know, Sammer is just my kind of like screen name that I use in real life.
I can
He's
acquire it for you.
Why do you think he
anything
wears
you
his
want.
hat
He's
so
like-
far up on his head, bro?
he's like-
Just to hide the horns.
I can't
He's
put
like-
it down any lower. The horns are.
That's why his shit's like way
He's
up
like-
here.
he's
Look,
like-
guys,
like
I do
here.
have eyebrows.
What
but-
a match. What a match. Look, holy shit, where are your eyebrows, bro?
He does have eyebrows.
I have eyebrows, bro.
Where the
I swear.
Does-
your eyebrows?
They're
Listen,
there, man.
Sammer came to me and he's like, "Hey, I got a deal for you. You can get the girl of your dreams, but you're gonna die early in your life." And I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll
And
die."
you have, and you have to leave Florida and let
Right.
the Bucs win.
You have to
again.
leave Florida too.
And I was like, "Look, I get to, I get to die beautiful. It's fine. I'm done. I'll die when I'm young. I'm cool with it."
And she likes
Oh,
barbecue and what the fuck?
Barbecue.
bro?
You guys eat like you're, dude.
You guys need your own travel channel.
You do.
Go across the country to football cities and you eat their food and you drink their beer and you tweet and blog about it. And I just want 10% of the royalties.
That's a TV show, bro.
Like,
That's what I said.
Look,
That's
if,
a TV show.
If y'all promise to pimp it, then that's a little bit more motivation for us to make it
We'll
happen.
pimp it.
When we don't live in
Sammer
a
might
Coleman
even
time.
bankroll it. Sammer might even bankroll it.
Listen,
Wow.
at the sake of offending
hold on.
people, I don't want to offend anybody, but you're with a girl who should be a fat girl, if that makes
What?
sense.
She should be a fat girl. I agree.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's
She
it.
should
That
be a
is
fat girl.
That is
You have
that
a
is
hot-
a non.
I
Fat
am
girl.
staying. I'm not touching that.
That is a
touch it.
non-eloquent way to say that she enjoys donuts, which a
Yes.
lot of people look.
Beer,
A lot of,
football, usually.
Barbecue, tacos.
Listen, I'm 44. I didn't come from the PC generation. Usually, you're talking about a troll. I mean, just a scary, beautiful,
girl you leave at home.
a handsome female.
You leave
That's
her
what
at
you
home. Exactly.
usually she'd be really handsome. But
Look.
you, on the other hand, found
Roseanne.
one.
Are you describing Roseanne?
and instead,
You said it, not me.
and
She should
instead,
look like Rosie O'Donnell, but she doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. God.
listen, I don't know if she made a deal with the devil, but every donut she eats, she gets prettier. So I don't know how it happens.
This is
but
how it
here
happened.
we
She
are.
came to me first. We did the donut deal, and then she's like, "I am feeling a little bit lonely, even with all these donuts." I said, "I got the guy for you, but This
Steven
also comes at a
Stamkos.
cost. And then
Perfect.
Yeah, she was like, I want Steven Stamkos. He's like, I got budget,
I said,
budget
listen,
version.
I can't get you Steven Stamkos. He's very religious. He will not go. He will not make a deal with the devil. But let me tell you about this guy I know who looks a lot like him. And then, you know, now here we are. Bucs are winning. We're going to the Super Bowl. All Florida teams are flourishing. Trevor's happy. He's got a fat girl who's not a fat girl. Everyone's winning. Everyone's winning. Everyone's
Great
winning.
points. Great points. Guys.
You know, all we do is win. You know what I mean? All we do is win.
6-2, bro. When he said the word, when he said 7-2, I got the chills a little bit.
You guys, hold up. I gotta ask you this because this is important for this podcast. Y'all ever watch the show Hot Ones on YouTube?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, all right. So have you seen DJ Khaled's episode of Hot Ones?
I have not.
I have.
Okay, so Khaled goes on there, and you know how there's like 10 wings? It's like it's 10 different ways. There's 10 different sauces. I'm pretty sure he eats the third one, and then he's like, all right, man, thanks for having me. I'm out. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I can't do spicy stuff. I'm good.
I remember that. It's been a while since I've seen that.
Just walks off the set.
What?
Hot Ones is a great.
That's weird because he's Arab. Arab, like we put spices in we put it in our water. Like I have spicy water at home. It tastes like Tabasco sauce. It's real.
I mean, I like spicy, but that sounds fucking awful, bro. Spicy water.
That's why I can't do Bloody Marys, man. Like anytime I'm out for like brunch, breakfast, whatever it is on a Sunday, Saturday, and they're like, "Yo, let's get Bloody Marys." I'm like,
You're too young. You're too young to be drinking a Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Don't you guys ever wonder? Don't you guys ever wonder why I always have?
You'll get there, maybe.
Don't you guys ever wonder why I always have acid reflux? I drink cayenne pepper every morning. It's in my water. That's all that comes out of our tap.
Or after your crude oil bath? Because I'm just trying to get steps.
Wait, all right. I got one more story, and then I'll get out of here. Speaking of like having acid reflux, Christian, I can't remember. Have I told you about when I got heartburn in the press box with it? No. Okay, so
this is gold. Hell yeah.
So this is probably like, oh man, how old am I? I'm 29. So this is 3 years ago. I was like 26, and I'm going into the press box, and I eat some of the press box food. Game has started, whatever. I start getting heartburn. But I've never had heartburn before in my life. So if people out there who've had heartburn, you know the feeling. But if you don't know that it's heartburn,
you think you're dying.
You just think you're dying. And so I remember I was sitting there. I was like, oh man. And I'm like chewing. I'm trying to like chew ice and like drink water, but like water makes it worse. And then like I try to eat a little bit of bread, and I'm like. I got to the point where it was so bad. I look over at Scott and Mark, and I don't know why I asked this, but I look over at both of them, and I'm like, hey, y'all know what like heartburn feels like? And both of them immediately like shoot over and look at me, and they're like, do you have heartburn? And
have heartburn?
And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Both of them immediately go into their bag and pull out heartburn medication. Like immediately.
Prepared, man.
I can see. First of all, I can see.
They were strapped. They were strapped, dude.
Chalk.
Bro, I always got.
I can see Mark Cook carrying a man purse full of.
I always have those purple Pyrosec boxes. Always have them with me, man.
Mark Cook has does he have a purse?
That's what I said. He has a man purse.
He has a purse full of just goodies.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mark's got anything on him at any point in time. If you need literally anything, just ask Mark, and there's a good chance he's got it in his back pocket.
Might have potato tots in his side pocket.
Probably. It might be in his sock, but like he'll get it for you.
Hey, I had jalapeno tequila one time, and I really thought about going to the emergency room. Then this was like 8 hours later, and I could lit my burps on fire. It didn't go away.
When you say you had jalapeno tequila, do you mean like someone offered you a single shot and you took it? Or are you talking about a night of drinking?
We had a night of jalapeno tequila, and it was a homemade version. So the guy, he just put a bunch of fucking jalapenos in his tequila and let it fucking marinate for 6 years or however long. I mean, it was really, really jalapeno-y. It felt good going down.
Sure did.
I've got. You know what doesn't give you heartburn, guys?
Because of that.
Rebuiltmeals.com.
Rebuiltmeals.com.
Code baby oil, 15% off for life.
They will deliver amazing food. All my food just arrived today.
But not to Charlotte. They won't deliver to Charlotte, though.
Not to Carolina Panthers fans, they won't.
They don't have roads up there to get him up there anyway, do they?
Yeah, what are they going to hitch him onto like a back of a wagon and a horse?
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, the road stopped. They just turn into they just like dirt road.
You mentioned Scott.
Yeah,
how awesome was Scott Reynolds on here? How awesome was it to see that side of Scott Reynolds?
Great. No, it's cool because like, look, Scott obviously has the Twitter account, and the only Twitter account that he uses is the Pewter Report one. He doesn't have a personal one, and so that I think prohibits. And he's pretty professional in his Fab Fives that he does, and so like I feel like that always prohibits people from actually like getting to know the real Scott. And like Scott's an awesome dude, so I'm glad that he went on with y'all's podcast because people got to see that. That was a very fun episode. I enjoyed listening to that one.
He was like, "I'm the last one to get invited." What the hell? He was pissed.
I was afraid of him. I thought he was too serious to even want to be part of this. That's why.
Right. That's the thing. And like Scott's not like that at all. He's awesome. He's a good dude.
Yep. He was a good dude. He was a good guest. You're always a good guest.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming
on.
on.
A-grade follow on Twitter, by the way,
Yes.
guys. Go follow Trevor.
Guys,
he is amazing.
His information is in the lower thirds. Please follow this man. Even though he's a huge Carolina Panthers fan and a gigantic.
Why are we
Gerald
acting
McCoy
like
fan.
anybody who actually listens to this podcast doesn't know who Trevor is? Like, we're
Right.
Hey, how about following me?
No, hey,
follow
you know why?
Christian.
No.
Me, guys. I only have 500 fucking people.
Yeah, follow
Listen.
fucking Christian, bro.
Listen, dude, we have a lot of Patriots fans that are joining us week in and week out. New people, and they're always out of New England. We have a ton of New England fans that are just hopping on this.
Don't follow me if you're a Patriots fan.
Trevor, your fucking tweet on Sunday night was gold, bro. I woke up my kids. Thanks.
Which one?
He said
To read them his tweet?
No, he said, "You mean there's a whole division of these teams? like there's a whole division out there? Like what the fuck?"
Yo.
Yeah.
On that note, go Bucs.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucs!